Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Aurora 4X C Sharp. I did end up deciding to off-screen, basically waiting for us to be able to move out for the next expedition. So, our ammo transport, excuse me, trying to get my timer to come up, and phone's not quite registering to pull out the tab that I needed to pull out so I can pull up the clock to start the timer. As I was saying, I decided to just basically off-screen waiting for us to get our 3 ammo transports. The reason I decided to go for 3 is I figure, realistically speaking, the 1600-ish, well, technically it's like 1620, I believe it is. Or no, that's definitely not right. I don't know why the hell I was thinking that. But whatever. What is that? 900 and some odd. Yeah, that seems about right. It's like, what, 940 or something, I think. I don't know. Whatever, or 960, whatever the case is. Of these RIM 8100s, so we have two ammo transports carrying these, and then one carrying our A-14 anti-missile missiles. I figure that that's probably enough to at least deal a serious blow to the enemy. We might still end up needing like one extra campaign, but the hope is that this is good enough that we can go in, wreck some shit, and then fly back, quickly rearm and resupply with some more missiles, fly back to finish the job, and then prepare to invade. Nothing particularly exciting happened between last part and the start of this one. Instead, mostly it was, getting ourselves ready for that and then doing research. Some of the things we researched were particle beam related techs. So, we do have particle lances now, as well as some further improvements to particle beams in terms of their strength and range. One thing that should be noted is that most weapon systems, with the exception of particle beams and missiles, basically, for the simplest way to describe it, all have damage fall off at some point. Most of them seem to be centered around whatever your range modifier is the max range in which you will do full damage. Everything after that starts to fall off. The exact degree of fall off depends upon how much damage you actually do, and of course, what your range modifier is. But basically, every 10 to 20-ish thousand, it seems like, you'll go down one extra, damage tier. So instead of doing 6 damage, you do 5, etc., etc. Particle beams and particle lances don't do that. Instead, particle beams and particle lances always do their maximum damage out to their max range. But outside of their max range, they do 0 damage because they literally can't fire beyond their max range. And to improve the range of a particle beam, you just research particle beam range. The strength of the beam is irrelevant to the damage or to the range. It only determines damage. Particle lances are a additional optional improvement for them, in which you basically double your damage. You again keep the same range, but you increase your power requirement by like 2.5 times. So they're not quick firing. They work reasonably well on ships, I want to say. I'm not sure how well they would work in the case of like an STO using a lance. I guess it would depend upon your layout, and I guess I'm pretty sure you can tell this. Yes, you can choose a weapons per target. If you know how much you need to knock out the targets you want to engage, that works, in theory. But yeah, that's not really something that I've messed around with. So that's something we would have to fiddle with to figure out sort of what the best option is there. But yes, we could potentially be swapping out our STOs from the railguns they use now to potentially particle beams. The current one that we could design in terms of particle beam would do 9 damage, which is technically less per salvo, for lack of a better way to describe it, compared to our current one. And it would still have the same rate of fire of 15 seconds. It is actually slightly lighter. If we, compare to what we actually had. Well, actually, it's technically slightly higher, slightly heavier, actually. Pardon me. It's just that STOs, they take into account, I guess, the power requirement. So this is not fully accurate for determining what I need. Or, how big of a space it'll actually take up on an STO. But yes, so could do capacity recharge rate of 8 because it's 15 seconds no matter what. Slightly more range. Again, technically it's less damage per salvo because this is just a 1-9 instead of a 4-5. But we would do max damage all the way out to our max range, which is the main advantage. So I'm kind of inclined to potentially be swapping them out in the nearish future. One thing we do need to know before we actually go into GL Virginis again is the enemy still camping the jump point? Because that's kind of the problem. I've done some tests sending ships through. Completely unrelated to between last part and this part, but I have done some tests and they always result in basically an immediate ship destruction of whatever ship I send through. It might manage to fly away, but then it'll get chased down and gunned down anyway. And that's largely just because the enemies are just kind of sitting there at the jump point. I'm guessing they've not surveyed their system, at least when they, in terms of doing a gravitational survey, so they don't have the ability to go through the jump point, even though I stabilize that side, I guess is the way it works. But I don't want to be jumping my fleet through the jump point right on top of an enemy that is sitting there waiting for me to come through. That's not what I want. I mean, we'd probably come out on top, but we would take heavy losses. And because Gaussite is so freaking hard to come by, I'd rather not take those losses in the first place. So what we'll probably end up doing is we will send the carrier strike group out to the waypoint that we have just outside, or, on our side of the jump point. And then probably send one of our observation crafts, one of our O4s through. And figure it out from there, I guess. Now, one thing I do need to take into account, you guys have a max speed of 9,069 kilometers a second. The carrier strike group is limited in speed by the speed of the Akagi, which caps out at 8,855 kilometers a second. So the logistics group has no problem being able to catch up and keep up with the carrier strike group, which is good. So let's go ahead. Alpha Centauri, Lalande, New Sculptrius, or however it's pronounced, FL Virginis, Omega Ceti. Go to waypoint 1. You guys are going to do the same thing. I don't know why auto route by system is not showing. God, what was it? Omega Ceti there. But for some reason it just isn't, so that's whatever, I guess. Well, actually, we don't have the Marines for the carrier strike group. Because I did research them, but I haven't actually, built them. Which is, something I should probably do. Let's go ahead and do that now. I did not research a brand new LMG team. Or I did, but not a platoon HQ for these guys. 14 of these. I did, however, research a company HQ for them. Did I do your values wrong? I think I did your values wrong. Your capacity of 10,500. You are okay. No, it's just the way the game labels. So the game labels things a bit weirdly when it comes to element attributes. A HQ with a capacity of 250 gets labeled as an HQ 250. An HQ with a capacity of apparently 10,500, however, it gets labeled as an HQ 10. I don't know in what world that makes sense, but apparently there's a world like that. And I don't agree that that makes sense at all. Now I am going to go ahead and upgrade your guys' stuff as well. And obsolete that. Obsolete that. There we go. Yep. Okay, we should probably get those built. I think I actually need like one more. I think it's like one or two more H2s actually. Whoops, god damn it, I keep hitting the wrong button. You have 42, and is that still the correct value? Yes, it is. So I actually technically need two more H2s. Get those queued up. Those will get out pretty easily. Let's see, Marines. One company, and then 41 platoons. But I need to actually adjust your guys' sizes a little bit. You're just a little too big. Oh yeah, I actually need to cancel that. Whoops. Before the game will let me do this. Let's do 12. 22, nope. 16. Took you down a little too far. 17. No, that takes you a little too low. Is there really no way to get you guys like exactly where I want you to be? Because that's really the vibe I'm getting here. There's no way to quite get you guys exactly where I want you. I want you to be at 250 if I can. You guys just don't quite do it. Okay. Oh, that's fine. We'll do a slightly under 250 in that case. So one of these, and then 41 of these. So we are at 41 now. Math is correct when this says 83. I believe that should be enough. These guys should come out relatively quickly. Because that's the name of the one that's going to be coming out. So if my math is correct, 82 should be the last one. We're going to ignore the other Marines that died previously. You know, they died in combat valiantly, is what we'll say. Okay, wonderful. Got the last of these H2s. Detach. Fleets. Assault Carrier Group 1. Land and join specified squadron SM1. Wonderful. Now we wait for Carrier Strike Group 1 to arrive. At the waypoint. So we can dispatch one of our observation craft through. And hopefully the enemies, because I think it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, between where the last part ended and us arriving. So my hope is that their maintenance has forced them to head back to their home planet, and of course, as a result of that, stay put. Also, why do I have a colony on the 20th moon here? Oh, yes, okay, because it has a boatload of boronide with very good accessibility. Okay, that's probably why. And quite a bit of geranium there, although these are fairly expensive places to colonize. Are they able to be... Nope, not able to be orderly mined. Okay. Okay, Carrier Strike Group 1. Grab one of the VP ones, or well, one of the O4s from VP 1. We'll take the one that doesn't have a name. Because, yes, they all have people in charge. Also, out of curiosity, how'd you guys do with your training? I let you go pretty far, but I didn't quite let you go all the way to 100% for everybody, which is a bit of a shame. But we're up in like the 70s for the ships, and the craft are at least, you know, mid 60s. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Now, you, buddy, I hope it's your lucky day, because if it isn't, you're not coming back. So we're going to take a bit of a slow approach. What I am actually going to say, though, is that if you do manage to make it through by some miracle, fly off to Geo Virginis 3. No, don't do a geological survey. Just move there. Okay. Approaching jump point. What awaits us on the other side? Burning sun. Okay, we're not immediately detecting anything. Nor are we being fired upon. Because this thing doesn't have the ability to take any hits. As a reminder, our recon has 1 armor. This thing is gonna die if something so much as looks at it. Admittedly, that's basically the story of any fighter that you're gonna design in this game, because there's generally no reason to really armor them. Only exception for us there is the strike fighter, because we had a bit of extra weight that there was really nothing worth putting on, so we slapped a bit of armor on it. So they don't, in theory, immediately die, depending upon what they're engaged by, of course. I don't think it really makes a significant difference. The main reason for doing it is just it gives us a nice even number to work with. But yeah, we're not being immediately fired upon, so I'm thinking we can probably go through, because I'm pretty sure they should have detected this thing if they were sitting there with their active sensors on. But that's kind of the issue. I don't know if they have their active sensors on. They could just as easily not. Also, 1 second, I need to pause. Sorry about that. Just had to close some windows that were running in the background. But yes, that's kind of our problem. Is that if they don't have their actives on, they're potentially not going to detect this guy. I mean, I would think they would. The reality is this thing puts out a fair bit of thermal signature. It has a thermal signature of 106. Your passives are always on. That's why they're called passives. You don't toggle them off and on. They're there. They're always there. So unless they just don't have passives, which is a possibility, but in which case, what the fuck is that design that design theory? While it does have a small target cross section, that's what's used for active sensors. So, they should be detecting it. And I would probably be detecting them. So I think we can move through without any immediate, issues. Apparently I need to actually I don't know what the fuck's with the maintenance supplies. I could have sworn I told you guys to rearm. But what we're going to do is we're going to fly back through. Because apparently, for some unknown reason, Carrier Strike Group 1 is not at max maintenance supply points, which I want them to be at before we move in. Again, I don't know why. It makes 0 sense to me why they're not. So let's try this again, game. I don't know what it is with you, sometimes just not resupplying. Like, this isn't the first time I've had it happen where you just don't resupply. And I don't think you guys had any serious maintenance problems. Certainly not enough to get you down to, like 60%, I think it was for one of you. There's no freaking way. So we're gonna try this again. Go back. I mean, sure, yes, you're having some engine issues. I get that. The Achilles. Okay. But all of you? Really? Well, not all of you, but enough to take you down to 60%? No. Even if your engine has problems, it's not going to take you down that freaking low. So, try this again. We should be good to go now. I think that was all of the ground units. Oh, no, it wasn't. Never mind. These guys are done end of August this year. These guys are 0.06 years. So that's what, like a month? I don't think that's right, but whatever it is, yeah. They'll be ready when they arrive, or when they're ready, but it doesn't really matter significantly in the grand scheme of things, because we're not gonna be, probably capturing any ships. If we do, great, but I'm not counting on it in the grand scheme of things. I'm really not. Okay. So, Carrier Strike Group 1, you're going to move through the jump point on your own. The logistics will follow up shortly thereafter. I just kind of need you to confirm that it is, in fact, clear. The fuck is going on with the Abdil? I don't think the Abdil actually resupplied for some reason. And I'll admit I'm on the verge of space mastering it, because I don't know what the fuck the deal is with the Abdil. It's apparently just not gonna rearm or resupply for some reason. Because you shouldn't be at 64%. I'm pretty sure you didn't have any issues coming down, or, coming back. Oh, no, you did. With one of your engines, and Jesus Christ, are those engines fucking expensive on the maintenance supplies. 400, that's basically half of your frickin', well, like a third, I guess, actually, of your maintenance supplies. Well, I think we're gonna have to redesign the Abdils, potentially. What the hell's the issue with the Abdils, though? So this is annual failure rate. Incremental failure rate. What are the chances that both times I send you up here, you have an incremental failure that requires you to use up basically all of your supplies? You have a little under 1,300 right now. You need like 400 some odd for a max repair. And I believe this max repair is actually just like the most expensive component, which would be the engines. These engines are expensive. Very, very expensive in terms of materials. And, cost, which I think cost is what's actually used for max repair up here. But nonetheless, yes, it's not a pretty picture. Jump through. The game's not immediately throwing warnings at us, so because if the game was immediately throwing warnings at us, we'd be getting the fuck out of Dodge. But that ain't the case, so I think we're good to go. Let's head up here. I want to engage more or less at our maximum range, which is, well, because considering we need to rely on our actives to actually fire, well, that's not strictly true. I can technically fire at a waypoint. I just don't know how well firing at a waypoint works for having your missiles move to actually engage a target. Because I'm pretty sure the game would have me fire missiles at a waypoint, and they will hit the waypoint and explode. They're not going to go to the waypoint and then try to find another target, an actual active target. So unless I wanted to try to go gimmicky with it by telling them to move to engage a waypoint and then delete the waypoint once the enemies are within active sensor range of the missile, which, yeah, no, sorry. That's a little too much work for me. We're going to move to GL Virginis 3. And I hate how the game defaults to trying to do geological surveys even when your ships are incapable of doing geological surveys. Okay. Logistics group, you come through. You are going to follow Carrier Strike Group 1. Not a big fan of those couple of small increments the game was having me do. Now, what is the distance between 2 and 3 at the shortest? They would be well within range of my systems, because it's about a 68 some odd million kilometer distance between the orbit of Geo Virginis 2 and the orbit of Geo Virginis 3. And we know 2 is their world. And that would take it outside of our range. Do we go to Geo Virginis 3 and try to lob missiles at them from behind a gas giant with a ton of one thing granted, one thing that should be noted, in real life, if we use this game's mechanics, in real life you could use the moons as cover in a sense, and there's a lot of stuff here. In fact, there's probably so much crap here you could probably hide a ship in there. But that's not how this game works, so we're not going to be able to do that. So, question is, do we try to just hang out and fire our missiles at, like, the safest possible range, which unfortunately I do think probably basically takes us into the orbit anyway, in the grand scheme of things? Because I need to maintain the active lock when we fire, otherwise our missiles will just self-destruct. And I think the only way to reliably do that is to get closer than our technical max range, which is 89 million. So I'd want to probably be like 80 million or so. Of course, part of our issue is that currently Geo Virginis 2 is based on the far side of the star. And we know they have decent range missiles. They're slow, but they have good range. And apparently that, of course, also means they have a ship with a large sensor suite, which is our issue. I don't have a single ship that is basically just a giant sensor meant to detect everything in a system. That is a design, philosophy you can take. You can go in here and say, you know what I want? I want a, I guess I'd probably call it a sensor platform, all things considered, because that's basically what it would be. But you could call it whatever you want. Surveillance cruiser also, potentially works as an idea. Because they actually surprisingly don't have, like, sensor ship. There's sensor outpost, sensor platform. These obviously imply, stationary, but that's not what I'd be designing it as. But yeah, theoretically, you could design a ship like that, where it's like literally just a giant sensor. We'll design a theoretical ship. Surveillance cruiser. And I could just go in here and basically say, this thing is literally just all sensor. So go with a nice size or resolution 100, uh, sensor and a size 50 sensor. That will give us 628 million kilometers against a 5,000 ton target. 25 million against a 1,000 ton target, and 1.5 against a 250. And this is a 2,500 ton thing. Again, the ship will basically be just this. And that's realistically probably a good idea when you want to be able to just kind of lob missiles at an enemy. You design a ship that is just all sensor, and you don't put sensors on your actual ships that are firing because they don't technically need them. You just need to make sure you don't lose this ship. That's the one problem with this design philosophy. If you lose this ship, you cannot fire because you need something having an active sensor lock. Obviously, a separate way we can do this is with our early warning craft theoretical design. It's got a target cross section of 8. It's a bit harder to hit, and it's got a decent range sensor on there at 65 million kilometers. I could use this. And we might end up doing that if we ever get the Africa out. We might slap like 1 or 2 of those on here potentially, so that we have that capability of maintaining a lock from further out, and we could design our missiles around that idea of, because our missiles are stupid fast, as a reminder. Our missiles are stupid fast because there's not much really to use. Do you need an 86,000 kilometer a second missile? Not really. I can slap a larger warhead on there. I can give it more range, something, but it doesn't really need to be this fast, all things considered. But yeah, that's one of the things I need to deal with, because I may want to just stop now. And wait until the planet comes into a better targeting location for us. But either way, one thing I do want to do is, design our waypoint. And I need to delete that because I can't actually properly design it. So from here to here, it's about 71. I want to do like probably 80, which would put us there-ish. Now we know that the enemies were kind of slow to react to us previously, so I can probably actually just move to the waypoint and kind of just wait there. Like, the enemy didn't actually move to engage us the last time until we launched our strike fighters. That's when they came out to fight. Okay, so we're here. Now we just need to wait for the planet to come into an area that we can actually, engage. Which just means sitting here for a bit. I think the game actually only updates the rotation like every day. Let's do a 1-day tick. But I guess it also depends upon the rotation cycle. I don't know how often Geo Virginis 2 actually goes around its sun. It might be a very slow rotation. I don't think the game includes that information here. Orbital period, 34 days. Okay. So we will be here for a bit until it comes into range. Okay, now it is theoretically within weapons range, but it is not within active sensor range, so we can't technically engage. I actually need to update those because the game didn't do it automatically when I took them off. And again, we're having issues. Some of our ships. Doesn't seem to have been as bad this time, though. Oof. I don't think I actually have enough maintenance supplies on you, realistically. Oh no, you have 2 years. That should be more than sufficient for our needs. But it sucks. Again, we just kind of wait. Eventually, the planet will come into active sensor range. We can fire. We can then theoretically attempt to back off. There we go. We can then, in theory, attempt to just back off after we fire a salvo. Really, are you sure you don't have somebody in range? Because I think you should. I really find it unlikely that you guys just straight up don't have target locks. Really? Are you going to actually make me close more? Because look at the size of those things. One's almost 15,000. And the other's over 22,000. You mean to tell me that we can't get a sensor lock on those? Really? Because I don't think that's true. But okay. Okay, I'll move a bit closer. We'll go to 60 million, eh? How does that make you feel, game? We'll move to 60 million kilometers. Now the game decides, oh wait, yes, you do have sensor lock on these guys. I think the game just needed to refresh again. I probably could have done a 5-second increment and been good. Okay, wonderful. So, well, as far as we can tell, The ships that we know came after us last time were the far reaches, or at least those were some of the things that came after us. So we're going to go ahead and fire a salvo at far reach 1 for you, and far reach 2 for you. And you are going to fire, open fire. There we go. Under missiles away. Okay, Reno class is new. There's a ton of them. There were some nuclear detonations. That's mostly a lot of energy weapon impacts. They've got a lot of potential point defense is going to be our issue. There is an absolute ton of it. There we go. That time we got through and we did a bit of damage. Not a ton. And that was on Far Reach 3. So, you guys, fleets here. It's slightly annoying actually that you guys aren't, like, why is there not just an option to say load supplies or something? But okay, whatever. Join and add ordnance to fleet. Yeah, we're just gonna take you guys out, I think. And we'll try this a different way. Yes, I spelled logistics wrong, and I don't really care to fix it right now. Will you guys just do it automatically, actually, I guess is the question. I guess that really is just the question, is if you guys will just be nice enough to do it automatically. 'Cause this thing is set up as a coiler, so, it should be attempting to resupply the fleet, in theory. Not messing around with this, so I'm not sure what the deal. Okay, are you guys doing it automatically? I guess I need to do a larger increment to be able to confirm that. Okay. The answer looks to be a resounding no, that you're not doing it automatically, which is annoying. Carrier Strike Group 1. Join and add ordnance. Join a subfleet. Automatically rearming. Subfleet ordnance. That you are the right one, of course. Yes. Okay. Now, question is, are you going to actually, do your thing or no? For the life of me, I can't figure out how the hell you get it to, do it. You're set up as a coiler, not a supply ship, and I don't think you need to be marked as a supply ship. Pretty sure you just need to be marked as a coiler. Pretty sure supply ships is, for carrying maintenance supplies. I still got nothing. Do we attempt to launch the strike fighters? We got better range missiles now, so we might be able to get an actual successful salvo out. And if we fire all of our things, which is 6 launchers each, and there's 10 of these, so 60 missiles. Considering that 200 wasn't enough to punch through the point defense screen, I'm going to say that the answer is probably no. still aren't. How the fuck do you tell these guys to rearm these things? Because it seems like it should be a pretty automatic thing when you say load subfleet ordnance or something. Is it replace? I don't feel like it would be replace, if I'm being completely honest. And the wiki, it should be noted, claims that you only need an ordnance transfer to reload box launchers. Like, they have to be done at an ordnance transfer point is, I believe, how the game specific, or how the wiki specifically phrases it. And then it, specifically mentions ordnance transfer hubs, ordnance transfer, uh, whatever the hell they're called, ordnance transfer systems, or hangars. So, okay. In theory, these guys should be, transferring. But that don't seem to be the case, as far as I can see. Unless I'm completely missing something. Because, yeah, these guys don't seem to be rearming, like, at all. Which just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it isn't a case of, just having the maintenance thing, or, the ordnance transfer system works, then the wiki shouldn't say that ordnance transfer systems work for reloading box launchers. I realize that, yes, if you actually go to design a box launcher, it does specifically mention may only be reloaded in a hangar deck or at maintenance facilities. Okay. But, yeah, wiki seems to indicate that ordnance transfer systems and hubs should work for reloading box launchers as well. Does it make any sense? Hell no. Considering what this specifically mentions. But that's how the wiki phrases it, and it seems that the wiki might be wrong, or I'm doing something completely wrong. Both are very real possibilities. But I ain't seeing shit here in terms of our supply ships, doing the whole reason for their existence. So let's detach you. Join and add ordnance to fleet. But I'm honestly inclined to say that it is likely a case that the wiki is incorrect in stating that ordnance transfer systems and hubs work as well for reloading box launchers in space. Because I'm not seeing any movement at all here. These are all sitting at the maximum reload time of 8,490 seconds, which they wouldn't be sitting at if we were actually capable of reloading box launchers with an ordnance transfer system. This is the indication that the wiki is very much incorrect in its assessment of how this works. Should I have known better? Oh, yes, certainly. But, when the wiki says one thing, you're kind of generally somewhat inclined to say, well, it's probably right, because in theory, all the people that manage it are going to do a good job of actually making sure that the information there is in fact correct. Seems like this might be one of those cases where it isn't. Or something changed since the last time it was updated, and now it is no longer correct. How large was our cruiser? We'll have to go to 25. Bare minimum to do that. Of course, that means those things are significantly slower now. God, no, that's way too fucking slow. You need like at least 8,000 if you want to have any reasonable chance of survival. God, and your maintenance supplies are shit. Just the one maintenance module is good. You need like at least a year. There we go. That's good. Can actually take off some of the engines now. Oh, whoops! Those were the maintenance modules. Those are the ones I actually needed. I was taking off the wrong thing. Meant to take off engineering spaces. Jesus Christ. Are maintenance modules actually that much more efficient at adding maintenance life compared to modules? Because it seems like they might be. Which I feel doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Because this maintenance life is purely determined by how many maintenance supply points you have. I would think, clearly my theory might be incorrect on this, that a storage bay for just a boatload of assorted maintenance supplies would be more efficient at adding MSP compared to engineering spaces, which would be like, the actual workshops that require, engineers. So, I would think you could add like large maintenance storage bays and they would be significantly more efficient at adding supplies. But again, evidently, my theory on that is incorrect, it would seem. Yep, that's going to be our ammunition transport. And yes, I space mastered it, but I blame the game. Or, well, I guess more accurately, I blame a incorrect wiki, as that seems to be the case. Um, Pretty sure one of these has an option for filling the ship, or I thought there was. Here we go. It's not an option, however, for actually giving it the maintenance supplies it technically needs. That option, it does not exist here. Air all does not actually, add maintenance supplies. As far as I know, there's no way to do that. Theoretically, I can begin. Okay. There, I can begin overhauls, which is not what I want to do. Try this again and see if it works this time. And the answer to that is looking like a no. So, okay, that still didn't fucking do it. What the fuck is the problem with getting maintenance supplies? Or, actually reloading our box launchers? Because evidently, maintenance modules don't do it. Which doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense, considering that it literally says maintenance facility. Pretty sure maintenance module qualifies as a maintenance facility, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. Unless I need to, split the ships up or something. Is that how it works, game? Is that how it works? I need to split them up? Because I'm not seeing an option for, assigning any there, so that clearly ain't it. I don't know what the fuck the problem is. But our guys are just absolutely refusing, or completely incapable, if you want to be more accurate, of refueling box launchers. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what the fuck the problem is. Because again, it clearly is not the maintenance supplies, because if it was, they would be, loading them up. But they're not. Or, the maintenance facilities, but they didn't do it. And the ordnance transfer system doesn't do it either. So I have no fucking clue what the problem is. because one moment. Because here we are on the wiki. Box launcher reloading. In VB6 Aurora, box launchers can be reloaded in a hangar or at maintenance facilities. For C# Aurora, box launchers can only be reloaded in a hangar or at an ordnance transfer point, a spaceport, ordnance transfer station, or ordnance transfer hub. Reloading at an ordnance transfer point is 10 times slower than in a hangar, similar to the penalty for maintenance facilities in VB6 Aurora. Because of the changes to maintenance facilities in C# Aurora, it'll be a lot easier to forward deploy facilities for full-size warships, both on planets and in space, which would increase the potential of box launchers if they could still use those facilities to reload, especially given they are immediately available in C#. The introduction of ordnance-specific facilities for C# provides a good alternative. Now, I realize, sure, they are 10 times slower at reloading, but should that not just then be reflected on the reload screen so that I know if they're fucking working? That's my problem. They can be 10 times slower, and I can live with that, but then you know what you should probably do is on the ship combat screen there where it tells me the reload for the missiles. If I'm reloading, you tell me, and you use the 10 times slower number so that I can physically see, okay, yes, my guys are reloading. That's the annoying thing. Is that as far as I can see, there is zero indication that they're actually reloading. They could be, and maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know because the game doesn't indicate it in a way that actually is, obvious. That's the problem. Is if they're working, tell me. Because if you don't tell me, then I got no fucking clue. And now I got no clue. Well, it's a little hard for me to be able to do anything about it. I can't exactly plan around something that I don't know is taking place. So I can only assume if they are or aren't working. But I need a visual indication that it is. That's my problem, is that there's no visual indication that it's working. As far as I know, they're not doing anything. But that's the extent of it. As far as I know, they're not doing anything. So, I guess we'll find out if our guys are reloading or not sometime between now and the heat death of the universe. Because this is the normal number for these, it should be noted. This is the normal number for how long they're going to take. So if they're working, you got to tell me, game. That way I know. If they're working, you got to tell me. All see here is it says complete transfer 24 hours. What the? I assume that's telling me it's supposed to take 24 hours for a complete transfer of the missiles that I have listed here. Which is, size 8 missiles. Okay, great. Are you loading them? I don't know. I literally don't know. The number of missiles you're carrying has not gone down once in any way to indicate that you're actually loading the ordnance. So as far as I know, you're not doing anything. If I detach you, tell you, add ordnance to subfleet, cruiser escort. Okay, yep, wonderful, you completed it. Do a 1-day tick and see if anything changes. And the answer to that is, surprisingly, no. Nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed at all. And replace is in theory supposed to be take out the old, put in the new type thing. So that doesn't make any sense. Do a 5-day increment. Maybe that gives you more time. Maybe you need to realize that you're supposed to be reloading somebody. I don't fucking know. Part has gone on long just because of the annoyance of this system clearly not working as intended. Or at least not in a way that's obvious. Because again, as far as I can tell, we're not loading ordnance at all. We're not transferring. We're not doing anything. We're just saying, oh, yeah, no. We're supposed to be. We're just not because we don't have a functioning system. Great. Wonderful. Wonderful design. Absolutely wonderful design. There needs to be a visual indicator. It is that simple. There needs to be a visual indicator. Something to indicate that what I'm trying to do, what I'm ordering to be done, is actually being accomplished. Otherwise, why do I care? And I mean, in theory, I can fly around all I want and our guys will be transferring at 100% efficiency because that's one of the things we finished researching between parts. So theoretically, I can fly around and do whatever the hell I want and we'll get the transfers done. But as far as I can tell, kind of seems like the system's not working. Because again, Wiki claimed an ordnance transfer system. Well, an ordnance transfer point, as it was labeled, which referred to a hub or a station, which I don't know why it referred to it as a station, because the module is referred to as a system and not a station. And pretty sure we don't have a system here for ordnance transfer station, so that's not it. It's not looking for some specifically design or designated design. And again, I'm pretty sure it's not to say, mark your ship as a supply ship, because I'm pretty sure that specifically has to do with supplies, maintenance supplies and stuff. So that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, no, for some reason, our guys still aren't rearming and resupplying. And I don't know why. But I will see you all next time. And because the system, as far as I can tell, doesn't seem to be working as intended, I'm probably just gonna Space Master a full missile, uh, you know, cargo onto our cruisers and uh, destroyers, because as far as I can tell, our system is set up correctly. And if it is working, the game's not indicating it in a way that's obvious. Maybe give me an event that says ships rearming, or, just have the reload thing actually fucking show me the 10 times slower speed so I can see that tick down and see that, okay, yes, we are rearming. Thank you for telling me. So yeah, I don't know what the problem is. Again, as far as I can tell, we have it set up correctly. Far as I can tell, we have it set up correctly. But evidently, we must not, because our guys aren't aren't obviously reloading. As far as I can see, they're not. So that's it's just something we're gonna have to deal with, and if that means space mastering my way around it, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Because yeah, again, as far as I can tell, the system should be working, but it clearly doesn't seem to be. But I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye and glory to the Republic.